Alright, this is going to be a how-to video on changing the automatic transmission fluid in a 2011 to 2016 Mini Countryman. We're going to start by removing the air box and making sure we can get to the fill bolt before we remove the drain bolt. So you're going to want to do this before changing the fluid, because if you can't get to the fill bolt and you drain the fluid out, you're going to be screwed. So we're going to go here, put up, and I will list all of the tools you need in the description below. First, we're going to remove this air box, 3 T25 Torx. There will be 2 mounts under here. You're going to just pull up afterward, and then there's going to be 1 T25 down here that you're going to undo. So we're going to start by taking these off and removing the hose clamp right here. Alright, I've loosened these slightly and I've removed the hose clamp. It's loose and can spin now. I'll pull this off in a second. You're going to undo the 3 T25 Torx on top. Just need to loosen these up. They will not come out, they'll stay part of it. Just get them nice and loose. They'll spin in freely. Alright, that one looked like it wanted to come out. Okay. Next, going to unclip right here. You push down on that and just pull straight up the vacuum hose, and then you're going to unclip it from back here so you don't break this, and then kind of like stick it over here so it doesn't get in the way. Next, we're going to take this off. You're going to pull the hose off right here. It comes off easily, and then this is just going to lift off. Put your hand under, lift it off, and don't forget to take off the mass airflow sensor. I'm going to push on the back here and pull out. Sorry. Here, got that. Alright, got it off. You just have to push on the back of it right here and pull straight out. Make sure not to put your hands in here. You don't want to get the sensor dirty. Pick up the top of the air box. We're just going to set it aside. Under here, you have your air filter. Now would be a good time to check if you need to change it. I do need to change mine. You can tell it's quite dirty. So, I'm going to leave that in there. Next, what you're going to do is undo the T25 Torx. I've already loosened it. It's right in focus, right in there. So we're going to take this off. So again, you're not going to pull it all the way out. It's just going to stay in there. So like that, and then you're going to pull up on the box. There are 2 mounts right here. You just pull straight up. You're going to undo, and then this one is undone. And now to get this hose out right in here, this is part of your intake hose. You're going to just rotate the 2 apart, so tilt the air box back. It'll be easier if you grab the hose with your free hand and twist this away from you, and then it will come straight off. And that's it. Very easy. Set it aside as well. Next thing you're going to do is take off your intake hose. This intake hose is not easy to get out. I'm going to move that over there so it's easier to get the hose out. You have this wiring harness and your intake into your turbo. You're going to take this hose off by removing 2 of the clamps. So there's a clamp here. Focus for me, please. Alright, you're going to get a screwdriver and push up there, or I guess you could use your finger, and then up here as well, and that's all that's holding it in. You're going to clip it with your hand or screwdriver and push those back so it undoes itself from the bracket. I'm going to have to put the phone down. Alright, we have this detached. It'll move. What you're going to want to do is this hose right here, one that goes from your intake into the turbo. You're going to want to undo this hose clamp and pull the hose off so you have a bit more leeway. Next, you're going to want to turn this hose, your giant accordion intake hose. It bends at these points. Make sure to unclip your vacuum line from here. It's unclipped, it's over here. And you're going to want to turn it this way as you're pulling out. So it's going to pull right here, And you're going to twist it as you're pulling. This will be easier with two hands. As you're pulling, twist it. Make sure to be careful. You're going to twist it this way as you pull forward. You're going to have to put the phone down, but you're going to pull up on this one and twist it that way as you're pulling up. Alright, so I've pulled the hose out. It's right here. I'm going to move it along with my other parts over here. Next, we're going to locate the fill bolt. You're going to have this hose and pull it up out of the way. It might be easier if you remove this sensor harness here, and then it will move a little more. You can also take this PCV line off as well, just by pulling straight out. I don't have a clip here. You may, I'm not sure if it's supposed to have one there. You may need to pull the clip out. Anyways, from right here, the fill bolt is right in there. Very difficult to see. I've put a flashlight down there so you can see it. That is a T55. So we're going to get a T55 Torx. We're going to put it on a swivel socket, and we are going to put 2 extensions on it. And the reason we have taken most of this off is so that you can get your hands around here, around the side, and get your hands down under here and get to the bolt right in there. That's why I've taken all this off. You will not be able to see it otherwise, as you can probably tell. So I'll get the extension together and we'll go from there. To get this on the fill bolt, you're going to need a T55 right here, then a swivel socket so that you can get to it. There's not a straight line of access. You will need a swivel socket. I have a larger extension here, a smaller extension here, and then my ratchet. These are all 3/8 inch to keep it all simple. You're going to attach all of this, and then you're going to finagle it down into there onto the bolt. What I would suggest doing is using your left hand and holding the bar straight down into there, and then getting your other hand over here, around here, where the flashlight is, over here, and getting under here and helping the Torx on the end of it get onto that bolt right there. This will be very difficult. This is not easy at all. It will take you quite a while to get onto it, and we'll pick up once you've gotten onto it. Alright, took me a little while, but I got the extension on there. This will be the angle you want. It is the most direct angle. So you have it going all the way down, then it's getting into there, over there. You want to make sure it's perfectly on there. Push down and make sure you do not want to strip this bolt. So you want to make sure the Torx is perfectly seated in the drain bolt, or the fill bolt, sorry. So you're going to push that down, and then you're going to attach your socket here, and I would push down on the whole assembly while turning so that it stays seated and you don't strip this fill bolt. So I have actually gotten it loose here, so by pushing down on this while you turn, and I'll try and demonstrate this, although this is not the easiest thing to film. I'm going to push over, and you can see it turns right there. So we know we have it loose. So after we have it loose, we're going to drain the fluid, and we're going to drain the fluid with we're gonna jack the car up and put a drain pan under there. So first, we're gonna go in the car and pull the emergency brake all the way up. Make sure it's all the way up. Don't want your car to roll. And then we are going to go to the passenger side of the car. If you have a right-hand drive car, you're going to go, when looking at the engine, to the left side of the car. And we're going to jack it up, jack stand, because we're going to be under the car. And you're going to line it up with the jack point right in here. Focus for me, please. That jack point. So I'm going to show you. I'll get this in there. And then it's going to go right on there. And you're going to jack it up from here, and then put the jack stand under the butterfly brace, which is under there, and I'll show you that once it's done. Alright, so I have the jack pretty far up so that the tire comes off the ground, and I have put the jack stand under here. So it's on the butterfly brace. It's on one of the ones that's a circular pipe, so it is resting perfectly on there. Next thing we're going to do is start the drain process. So we're going to get a drain pan in the correct socket. So I'd recommend one of these flashlights. It's a magnetic one, so you can stick it to the underside of the car. I'm going to stick it onto the underside of the drain pan so I can see what I'm doing. Then going to get drain pan, put it under there, and the drain bolt. It's right there. Focus for me, please. There we go. Drain bolt's right there. Gonna pull the drain bolt and it'll go straight in here. It's not gonna gush out like oil. There's what is called, there's a pipe in there that you are going to undo. I don't remember exactly what it's called, some type of drain pipe. It is in the transmission pan, and you're going to pull that after pulling this bolt. So we're going to pull the drain plug with one of these, one of these. I think it is a 3mm, or it's an H5, it's a hex 5, sorry, not an H3. So we're going to use one of these, and this will go directly in there. You can get a Allen as well, but I had a socket, and I think this will be much easier with a socket wrench. You'll get more leverage. So, going to grab our socket, which is up there. Then we're going to loosen this up, and I'll show you draining it. Alright, we're going to drain it now. Spin this counterclockwise. It's going to come out. I would suggest wearing gloves. This stuff smells terrible, and it is not the easiest to get off your hands, so it's going to drain a little bit. As you can see, it comes out at a slight angle. Luckily I didn't spill it. Yours should be a dark color, but not completely black. You should be able to see through it, much as mine is here. Mine is a nice brown color. This car has 82,000 miles on it. Should have something like that, so you'll notice it's not going to absolutely gush fluid out. We have to take out the pipe out of the hole that the drain bolt came out of. So I would suggest having paper towels ready to put this on, and then we'll go in after this is finished draining the fluid that comes out of the actual pan. We will take out the pipe. Alright, after it is drained completely, you're going to get your hex, the same one you used to remove the drain plug, and you're going to put it into the oil pan through the hole, and there is a little pipe. You're going to use your hand to this. It'll go in, make sure it seats correctly, that's about as far as it goes in, and you're going to lightly twist to the left, and it's going to unscrew, and a lot more fluid is going to come out. And there's going to be this little pipe that comes out with it. It's a little plastic pipe. When you're undoing this, be very careful. You don't want to snap this. I can't imagine how much this costs. So then you're going to unscrew it and pull it all the way out. I'm going to unscrew it mostly, but I don't want to make a mess. So, because you have to measure exactly how much fluid comes out, because that's how you're going to determine how much goes back in. So as you see, this is coming out. That little green piece, that is the pipe. You're going to take it all the way out. When it's all the way out, a bunch of fluid is going to gush out. So make sure you do this quickly and carefully so that you capture all the fluid. Because if you don't know how much fluid you take out, you have no idea how much to put back in. So after draining the fluid and pulling the pipe and draining all the fluid into the pan, you want to pour the pan very carefully into like an old oil jug. This is oil I put in a different car, but pour it in, and you can see right there the left side, that's quartz. That's what I'm going to use. It looks like it's 2.6 quarts, so that is exactly how much you are going to have to put back in. 2.6. So when you put in 2.6, I have some of this fluid. I'm using D4 ATF. I saw this online. This is Redline. You can also get the original stuff that was in the car, but that was more expensive, and I read online that this stuff was great. So I'm going to be using this. I'm going to put this hand pump. It screws into both gallon and quart sizes, and it has a hose. This will not be long enough, so I got another hose from another kit I had, and I'm going to, this one actually slides into that one perfectly. Slides in, and then I'm going to tape it with Gorilla Tape. Use a really good tape so that you don't spill. But if it's inserted, make sure to insert a good, like a little ways in so that it overlaps, so you don't have any spillage. and then we're going to finagle this into that fill hole in the engine bay. Back to the fill hole over here, which I still have my socket inserted into, and after that we'll pump it in. Alright, after draining your fluid and measuring it, we got 2.6. Make sure you put back in the pipe back into the drain plug and tighten it by hand very carefully. Make sure you get back in. You will know when it's done. Do not over tighten it. Do not use a ratchet, just use your hand on the socket. So the socket, turn it till it's done. Replace the drain plug, and next what we're going to do is we're going to remove the fill plug. I'm hoping you're going to be able to see this. This is the hardest part in terms of visibility, but it's right down there. It's where we saw earlier. We loosened it. I'm going to put my hand around the back side of it right here, right over here. It's going to go on top of that black shifter linkage, and I'm going to place my hand over the top of that and snake it in there and get on top of the bolt right in there. And I'm going to use my first 2 fingers to twist it, and then I'll pull it out with my first 2 fingers. There is very little room down here, so you're going to have to use your hands. It's not easy to see, but you can see I got my finger on it. And this came out pretty easily. Once it was loosened, it was not easy to loosen. I'm trying to get my best vision here, but it's not great. And then once this comes out, so you can see it's coming out, grab it with your first 2 fingers, kind of like in between them, scissor style, and pull it out. So then you have it like that. It's going to have an O-ring on it. You're going to want to clean this off before putting it back in, but now, so you can, that's why you want to be careful. You don't want to strip this. You can see it's not in the best condition. I didn't do a phenomenal job getting it off, despite what it looked in the video. So what we're going to do is snake the I'm going to snake the hoses in through there and place them in the top. As you can see, it has a little rim in there. It's a dark color. It's very difficult to fill up. You can't just pour fluid in here. It will the back pressure will push it back out. This is the only way air comes in and out. So you're gonna have to be careful doing that. I will get the apparatus set up and I'll show you what I have. All right, so here's what I have. I have the gallon. I've put the pump in the top, snaked it into a larger piece of piping, and I've taped it off so that it remains together so we don't get any leakage. You're gonna want it pretty long, maybe about 3 feet to get it in there. This one is probably closer to 4. And then I have, you can also use a quart. You can get multiple quarts, or you can get a gallon in quarts. I got 1 gallon and 2 quarts. You're going to want to do this procedure twice, so you can do the whole thing twice. I'll explain that at the end when we finish the first time. So we're going to snake this tubing all the way down into the hole down there that goes into the transmission, which, as you can see, is very difficult to do. You're going to have to use one hand to snake it down there, and then get your other hand, and like I showed earlier, let me get a flashlight. You're going to put your hand over the top of this black shifter linkage that goes onto the top of the transmission, that right there, and you're going to put it over the top of that and snake your fingers in there, and in between your first 2 fingers, you're going to plant the piece of the tubing into the hole. Once I have it set up, I'll show you how to pump it in. We'll go at a very slow rate. Alright, so we've snaked the tube in there. It's a bit easier than getting the Torx onto the bolt, but you've put it in there, and there's a little bit of a gap. You want there to be a little bit of a gap so that air can escape. You're going to very slowly pump this in. So what I would do is I would hold the hosing with one hand. So your right hand, hold the hosing into, push down with pressure onto the hosing so it stays in the hole, so you don't spray fluid all over the side of your engine and the top of your transmission. And then you're going to pump on this right here on the top of your pump. So you're going to get this going and then pump about 3 or 4 times. You're going to start to hear bubbles at the bottom down here as pressure is releasing, as the fluid is going in, air is coming out, and the bubbles will start to travel up the length of your tubing right here, and the fluid will go away, and will be your cue to pump some more. You're going to pump maybe 3 or 4 times until this is thick red, or the color of the fluid you've chosen. I think it should be red. And then once it's all the way through, you'll pump some more. This is going to take quite a while. but you're saving yourself hundreds of dollars. Alright, so I've pumped it, and as you can see, after you've pumped it up, this air bubble is going to come back up the stream, and that's going to be your indication that you can pump some more. You don't want it to overflow. I would recommend putting a white piece of paper towel or something down there so you can see if it starts to leak. You will know. So as you see here, the red fluid, the bubble will come straight back up after a little while. Give it some time, and after that has come back up, that will be your indication to pump some more. I do have a paper towel down here so I can see on the edges, down there. I've put a paper towel, you can see a little bit of fluid there, but it's not coming over the top, otherwise there'd be red over the top of the metal. And that is your indication that you are pumping correctly. This will take quite a while depending on how much you got out. The hotter your transmission was before pumping this in, the more fluid will come out. So I got 2.6. If your engine was hotter, I think you can get up to about 2.75, 2.8 from what I've seen on the forums. Alright, so it took quite a while, but I finished with this one. I had about a quart and a half in there, and I'm going to swap over to this one. I'm using the same pump. Hopefully it will fit. I haven't actually looked. Wow, just barely. And it does actually screw in, so this has a gallon cap on the outside, and then on the inside it does actually have one that screws into what said was a quart, and I did not think it would actually screw into this, but it looks like it does. So next I'm moving over to this one, same fluid, D4, red line, and we do have it still plugged in. I managed to get it so you want a slight gap in the side to let air out, and then paper towels in there to see if it's leaking. What works for me is I do 3 pumps on the handle, and then I let the air bubble come up. I'm going to keep going until it's done. Alright, as you can see, time has changed. It took quite a while to pump all that in. I got all my fluid in. You're going to want to clean the area very well. If you spilled any, clean it up as well. I'm going to take the bolt, I'm going to put it between my 2 fingers like this, and I'm going to go across the top of the shifter linkage down there where we did earlier. I'm going to get it back over the top of the hole, and I'm going to start. Make sure you clean this bolt off very well additionally so you don't track any dirt into your transmission. So you're going to then screw it in by hand to start with. You can get your finger on it and spin it pretty much all the way down. And then you're going to, alright, so when it's, I guess, dragging your finger across it tight, you're going to get your socket extension again, and you're going to work that down into the hole again, and use your other hand to put it back on, and we're going to tighten it back up. Alright, you've tightened the fill ball all the way down, and you've cleaned the entire area. Now what you want to do is you want to put the car back together. So what we're doing is putting back the whole intake system. So we're going to take the big curvy hose, and we're going to, the piping, and we're going to finagle it behind these 2 wiring harnesses. We're going to get it in here, under there, so it's sticking up like this. You want to make sure this vacuum line that you detached earlier, you want to make sure it is on the right side of the intake hose, so it's on the right side so it doesn't get stuck under it and then you end up breaking something right at the end. So we're going to make sure it's there. You're going to then have to twist it, so you're going to twist it toward you. Remember earlier you twisted the other way, you're going to twist it toward you as you push down this way, so you're going to need 2 hands for this. I'll come back in a minute. Alright, so you've gotten the hose in under the wiring harnesses here and here. You have your vacuum line right here. You're going to reattach it. So there's a little clip right here on the side, and it's going to just click right in. Perfect. You don't want to attach this yet where it plugs into the intake in the grill. You don't want to do that yet. You want to get everything else buttoned up first. So the air box, impossible to film with one hand. You are going to start with it tilted backward, slot it onto the hose here, and then tilt it forward, and it will click into place. You will be able to feel the click into place. Next, you are going to then get it onto those 2 pegs. See, there's a peg there, and there's one farther back there. 2 pegs, see the one back in the middle. And you're going to push those on. You can push those on the pegs, and then you are going to screw this T25 back into the hole there, and we'll go from there. Alright, 2 pegs in. Next we're going to tighten the T25 right here. Same as I did earlier. You can just hand tighten these. This is plastic. You don't have to crank it down with a ratchet. Good. Then the 3 holes back here are going to snap back into the top of the airbox right there, 3 tabs there. Slide it around the side. Get everything out of the way with the one free hand you have. And then that's going to go into the 3 tabs. These 3, T25 as well. They are still there, they didn't fall out. And then you're going to reattach this hose clamp as well. Alright, we got the hose clamp on there. Don't forget the hose clamp down here. And then we're going to reattach the vacuum line right here. You just push straight down, click, fits right in. You're going to redo the clip up here so it's attached. It comes across the top. Make sure it's coming across the top, that you've kept it on the right hand side and it's not going under there. Don't forget to reattach your mass airflow sensor right here. Click. Then check and make sure everything's in the right place. And don't forget, you still need to reattach this. So you're just going to push it straight in, and it will click into the holes there and the holes on the side there. Just pull it straight in, and then we'll put the car back on the ground. Alright, so after dropping the car to the ground, fixing everything in the engine bay, drop the hood. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start the car up, and we're going to check for leaks. Make sure it's not leaking transmission fluid, that you bolted the bottom correctly in the top. Put the key in, brake, start it. You're going to remove the parking brake. And we're going to let it warm up for a minute or 2. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put it through the gears. So not an actual minute or 2, we'll let it warm up for a few seconds. And then we'll put it through the gears. I'm going to turn the AC off so we can hear if anything sounds strange. So, car hasn't been on in a while. Its revs are hanging a little bit high. So what we're going to do, put the brake, we're going to put it in reverse. Let it sit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds. Into neutral. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Drive. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Back to neutral. 2, 3, 4, 5. Reverse. 2, 3, 4, 5, and then back to park. Now you're going to repeat that once or twice to get the fluid really going through the transmission before you go for a drive. Then you're going to want to take it for a drive, make sure it's shifting correctly, come back, check for leaks again. So I'm going to get out, check for leaks after this. Take it for a drive, check for leaks, make sure it's shifting smoothly, not clunky. If this is the first time you're doing this, you're going to need to do that entire procedure again. So drive it for, I don't know, 50, 100 miles, come back, do that entire procedure again, drain it, fill it up again. That's what I've just done, second time. And then you can do a third time. I've read do it 2 or 3 times. It depends on how bad your fluid was. My fluid didn't look too bad. I'm doing it 2 times. If your fluid looks terrible, do it 3 times. Other than that, this is the end of the video. Let me know if there's anything you'd like to see going forward. Thanks.